As soon as we're on YouTube, guys, we'll begin. Oh, we're on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. I guess we're on. We are streaming, and if you've not done so already, can you hit those buttons, a like, follow, subscribe, because that really helps me out. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about the new NATO announcement. We are going to be talking about fear and confusion that is absolutely rife now all over the West. And I'm also going to be talking about compassion, but before we get onto that, I have literally just seen a picture right now, and I was just looking for this. I'm looking at the rifle now that that the police have, the discarded bolt action rifle that is believed to have been used to shoot Charlie Kirk. Now I'm looking at this rifle, guys, and like for anyone, and I you don't have to be an expert here. Like, you don't have to be an expert here, but anybody who's fired a rifle before, they will tell you that that sight's in the wrong place. And I mean, it's not just in the wrong place a little bit. The sight on that rifle is massively in the wrong place. I don't know what that means. I assumed this was going to be a takedown rifle, but it's not. So, guys, look, just before we get on to this, if anybody's got any questions, I don't know what to make of this. I'm literally just looking at this right now for the first time. There's a rifle that's there's a picture of a rifle that's been released. Mainstream media reporting this, and allegedly it's the rifle that was used in the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Now, I'm questioning that, guys. I really am. The guy that jumped down off the building, he did not have. I assumed he had that rifle in his backpack and it was a takedown rifle. The rifle that they've shared a picture of is not a takedown rifle, and the telescopic sights is totally in the wrong place. Like, if anyone's done any, no, that would be that one, isn't it? If anybody's done any rifle shooting, and you'd have a bipod on it as well. I don't know, guys. That doesn't look like the right kind of rifle you would use. Nevertheless, I'll go with it. Regardless whether that is the right, regardless or not whether that is the correct rifle, you know, whether he did take a shot like this. I mean, if you're going to take a shot like that, an important shot, you would have bipod legs on that, and you would have that butt in your shoulder, and you'd be pushing forwards on it. And you'd have your right hand on the, your left hand on the furniture, your right hand on the trigger, and that's how you take the shot. The sights, I don't know, guys. Those sights would, unless he's got a really short. No, he wouldn't. I'm just looking at this, guys, now, and unless that would give him a black eye. I'm telling you now, guys. I've seen it before. You get this all the time. You get people come on the range. You know, they've got a sniper rifle, or they've got something, or they've got a bolt action rifle with telescopic sights on it, and the sights are too far back. That would literally give him a black eye, guys. I don't know. I don't know if this is the case. I'm literally just looking at this in real time now, guys. So I am calling that now. I'm calling out the credibility of that picture now. I don't know if that's just a picture of this same rifle that's being used, or if that's the actual rifle that they're claiming. And if they're claiming that that's the rifle that was actually used, I've just got questions, guys. I'm not calling it out. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I've got massive questions on that. No, and it's not. I'm not going down a conspiracy path here. All I'm saying is, if he, and the reason for this, guys, look, human physiology. When you're laid in the prone position and that butt is in your shoulder, your head's relatively far forwards. If you're standing up, you're fine. You can get away with it. I mean, maybe you went down on one knee. I doubt it very much. But if you're on your belt buckle, which you'd assume he was, that sight would be touching his eye. And when he pulled the trigger, it's going to give him a black eye. I've seen, guys, look, anybody who's been in the military, they will see this. You'll see novice shooters going onto the range, and they'll have a little black eye. Because they've had it too close. So when you pull that trigger, it jumps back and it bites you. Also, I mean, I'm looking at it now, and literally, guys, I'm looking at this for the first time. I'm looking at this now, and why wouldn't you have bipod legs on that? Like, you can buy bipod legs, and they're like, I don't know, like, they've got to be like no more than $50. And that's going to really tighten up your grouping. Anyway, look, guys, I will come on to that later. But what I want to talk about now is the NATO Eastern the NATO Eastern Sentry, which was just announced like a couple of hours ago, actually. I think maybe even less, maybe even this hour. In fact, no, I think it was a couple of hours ago. We'll be safe for a couple of hours ago. So I'm going to talk real quick. I'm going to give a little bit of a monologue about what NATO Eastern Sentry is, and then I'll come on to the comments. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, I guess we're on now. You guys know what we're going to be talking about. We're talking about NATO Eastern Sentry. We're talking about fear and confusion absolutely taken a hold now of the West. I was trying to explain to my mum earlier, and my mum is looking at, my mum, bless her, she's looking 2D, maybe even 1D. And that's what happens. You get blinkered. You don't know what's happening. Oh, look at all this over here. Look at all this over here. Look, guys, just for context, have you any idea what the wild stuff that was happening on the 10th of, the absolute insanity that was happening on the 10th of September? It was unbelievable. Like, so many wild things were announced on the 10th of September. Like, literally, alien life on Mars was like officially like announced, and nobody cares. Like, nobody cares that we found that. Well, I guess we did it. Well, do you know what? Whether there is actually life on Mars or not, I don't know. But it was announced that there was life on Mars. There was two more incidents in America. One where somebody took somebody's head off. That barely made the binge. Barely made any headlines. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start right now with, I'm going to explain to you guys, well, in my understanding of it anyway, what this Eastern Sentry is, and how what the United Kingdom's vital contribution is, basically. So for those of you guys who don't know, well, you know what, I'll just give you everything. Excuse me. So on, what was it? The go on. Earlier this, what was it? Was it the 9th or the 10th? Well, this was on the 10th as well. So on the 10th of September, I was just talking about the crazy things that were happening on the 10th of September, and it was this that happened as well. So also on the 10th of September, like early in the morning, depending on your time zone, at least 19 Russian one-way attack drones crossed into Polish airspace. Now, that is a violation of NATO territory, and again, whatever angle you want to put on it, that really, well, we're told that really happened. Now, this wasn't a glitch. It wasn't, it wasn't a one-off. It was one of the most serious incursions since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Polish and Dutch jets were scrambled to intercept, shooting down, I think they said 4. I think they said they shot down 4 drones, which is, as I understand it, that is the first time NATO aircraft have actually shot down Russian aircraft, and that really happened. NATO called it a reckless and unacceptable. Now, whether that was intentional or not, it happened, and we perceived it happened. So the timing, perfectly tense. It coincides with Russia are doing an exercise in Belarus as well at the moment. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the Russians are in Belarus at the moment, and they're doing an exercise. And that exercise revolves around moving nuclear missiles and conventional forces. So I don't know, guys. Call me paranoid. Call me what you want. But this stuff is really happening. Like, this is really happening. And all you have to do is look. So that's right on NATO's doorstep. From September the 12th to the 16th, which is obviously today, Eastern Sentry isn't just reactive, it's a wake-up call to deter any spillover from the war into the NATO alliance. And remember, guys, look, this is what I was talking about. This is why Article 4, and this is an outcome of Article 4. And if you missed my Article 4 video, I think I did it this morning. This is why NATO Article 4 is more potent, because it actually gets stuff done. NATO Article 5 doesn't get anything done. So, what is Eastern Sentry? You know, they're talking about a flexible defense. So what does that actually mean then? So announced at NATO HQ in Brussels by, what's his name? Is it Mark Rutte? I think his name is. This is a new integrated military operation they're saying it's going to supercharge defenses along that NATO's eastern flank from the Baltics down to Romania and I guess Bulgaria. Now, think of it as a fresh look at the defenses, you know, and it builds on existing battle groups with thousands of troops already in place, but it adds rapid response air policing, ground surveillance, cutting edge technology like counter drone systems and advanced sensors. Now, this was modeled after the successful Baltic Sentry naval mission. It emphasizes on flexibility, scaling up as the threats evolve, always ready to defend every inch of NATO soil. So that's kind of what it is, guys. That is what's being announced today. Basically, what it is, exactly what I said it would be. This is the framework now for, I believe anyway, this is the framework for a preemptive strike. And of course, you know, nobody's ever going to say that this is that they've agreed on preemptive strikes. But all these meetings that they have, they come out with these big announcements. You're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. There'll be stuff under the radar that we don't know about. And that is, clearly speculation, because I wasn't, unfortunately, they didn't dial me into the meeting, although I do think they should have. So they're talking about things like deterrence against drones. Do you know what, guys? I'm just going to leave it there. They are worried about these drone strikes, and they are worried about the industrialization of war. And if you've been following this channel for a while, you guys know that I've been talking about the industrialization of these conflicts. Right, I'm going to get some comments now, guys, before I continue. From now is saying, did you see the two men's hand signal before Charlie gets shot all over X? Yeah, look, guys, I saw hands. So just quickly, guys, there's a comment here from now over on X, and he's saying, did I see these signals? And I saw something. I wouldn't class that as a signal. And my genuine thoughts is that was just somebody stretching their arms. It's just like, I've done the gym last night. I'm stretching my shoulder. Oh, I'm stretching my shoulder. That's all I saw. Honestly, I didn't see. And what you've got to understand is if somebody was there ready to take that shot, they're looking through their sight, all like that, and it's there. They're going to get a black eye. If somebody is there without bipod, so he's like that. If somebody is there ready to take that shot and he's concentrating on this bit, I can guarantee he's not looking in the background waiting for somebody to say, yeah. So I did see the hand signal, but I didn't see it being, I didn't see it being anything untoward. Sorry, guys. There's a lot of comments on YouTube. Let me jump down. Mr. Mystery saying Hungary is about the only safe haven right now. And look, guys, this is why I've been saying there's going to be a mass exodus of Western culture to Antarctica. Two Sides is saying good morning, good evening all. I'm saying good evening to him. So is Junior Rogers. Lisa is saying you've been talking about this as long as I've been following you. Yeah, guys, when we started these channels, guys, for those of you who don't know, I've got quite a few people on at the moment. When we started these channels, the reason we started these channels is because in the 2022 invasion, there was a lot of people who had no idea of there was a lot of fear, a lot of unnecessary fear. Fear's fine as long as it's necessary fear. But my mum was at the bottom of the drive and she phoned up. She's like, Sean, can you open the gate? So I went down and she was crying. She thought we was going to get nuked by Putin. And, you know, and it occurred to me that people don't understand what's happening and people don't understand the procedures and not the procedures, the capabilities, I guess, military capabilities. And so we thought we'd start these channels. And initially we started doing military, global events, international events. But then I started to turn that objectivity inward. And what I found, guys, was absolutely wild. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to lie to you, right? I have got some thermal tracksuit bottoms on. And my legs are absolutely roasting, right? They're absolutely roasting. I am literally going to run into the house, put some shorts on, and I'm going to come right back, okay? So can you just wait there, tap the screen, all right? I know this is ridiculous, but you have no idea how hot my legs are right now. And I don't mean that as anything like I have got hot legs, which I do have. But my legs are absolutely boiling at the moment, guys. So can you literally just wait right there? When I get back, I'll continue my explanation of NATO's eastern flank. I'm going to talk about fear and confusion that really has taken over in the United Kingdom right now. So give me a second, guys. I'm going to run out there. I'm going to run back with some shorts on. Just hold that thought. And I'm back, guys. I'm back. I've got some gym shorts on. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back and I've got some shorts on and my legs are not boiling. All right. So thank you. Right. Anyway, let me continue, guys. I'll try and get as many. I'll try and get as much of the chat as I can. I do apologize about that. My legs were absolutely boiling, guys. They really were. My legs were absolutely boiling. Freedom of Truth is saying, hi, Sean. Hi to you. Sergeant Gunnery is saying, but do you sweat is the question, Sean. I do sweat indeed. I sweat quite profusively, actually. I'm not going to lie. When I go to the gym and I'm on the running machine, like the people left and right of me usually get covered in sweat themselves. And like, I do like it when, that guy or that woman, they come to the gym and they get on the running machine and they start to read a book and they're walking. When they get on at the side of me, I just think, it's your loss, mate. It's your loss. Because pretty soon you're going to be covered and you're going to be looking over at me thinking, what's wrong with him? And then I'm looking at myself in the mirror, shouting obscenities at myself, and that's how I roll, guys. That's how I roll. Anyway, let me continue about the, I'm going to give you guys the goals now of the Eastern Sentry. So Eastern Sentry then, and this, look, guys, for those of you just joining, Eastern Sentry is what's just been announced by NATO, with the goals of, they've given a lot of goals, but basically they're trying to defend against drones. And I'll be quite clear with you guys. There isn't really a test. There isn't really a proven method of defending against drones. I think what they're going to have to do is, I think they're going to have to send other drones up to intercept them. I don't feel a ground-based solution is. I don't feel a ground-based solution is working. So this is a team effort, and you know, the United Kingdom, the United Kingdom has a leadership role, and I've been saying this for a while. You know, the United Kingdom has now taken that leadership role. So let's look and focus on the United Kingdom, and I believe it is a pivotal role, guys. Okay, so the United Kingdom has pledged full support, offering Eurofighter Typhoons among the most, you know, I guess they're what we have at the moment, the Eurofighter Typhoons. Now, they're to bolster the air patrols over the eastern flank. Look, guys, I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to say it right now. It's not cost effective. It's not cost effective to spend 100 grand an hour. It's less, actually, probably 70 grand an hour. It's not cost effective. It's not cost effective to spend 70 grand an hour on aircraft patrolling that eastern flank in case a couple of, in case on the odd chance that 100 grand drone or 50 grand drone might make its way over. And it's not cost effective. Now, that's just the cost of the aircraft. If you start firing missiles, if you start firing Hellfires, then that cost goes up massively. And our near-peer adversaries know this, and they're trying to bankrupt us. They're trying to hit us in the pocket. So this is nothing new. You know, it's nothing new. This has been happening for quite a while. So because in this era of uncertainty, and again, you know, when I say uncertainty, what I'm talking about here is like, Homeland UK is massively, well, we now have more migrants, more illegal migrants, might I add. We have more illegal migrants in the United Kingdom than we do the whole of the military. That's Army, Navy, and Air Force. So if you've got everybody from the Army, everybody from the Air Force, and everybody from the Navy, put them on one side of some scales, and then you've got all the illegal migrants and put them on the other side of the scales, there would be more illegal. There is more illegal migrants in the United Kingdom than there is military. So, you know, we do have our own problems here in the United Kingdom, but we are giving a lot to this, giving a lot to Eastern Europe. So what does this mean for us all? Eastern Sentry is trying to avoid escalation by staying defensive, but it's ramping up readiness amid, you know, the Ukraine's fights. Critics in Moscow, they're gonna start to talk about provocation, and you've got to understand this from both sides of these arguments. So you're sat there, you're in Moscow, and you're looking at all this money that's been spent on drones and, you know, counter drones and Air Force. The media is going to spin that in that part of the world. That's just an inevitability, you know. And look, guys, let's be clear. Let's not pretend that Western media doesn't spin things to the opposite direction. So, in short, and it's only just been announced, guys. I've only had a brief look at this. I watched the press release. I watched the press release, and I think that's all that's been released at the moment. I don't think there's any paper being released. So this is my work, and this is what this is my own work. So Eastern Sentry is at its best, I guess. NATO trying to deter drone attacks into its own region. And I do think what this highlights on a broader spectrum, what this highlights is the absolute fear of this industrialization of drone warfare. And I say drones, I mean, they're slow cruise missiles, but it's that industrialization now where, you know, the Russians the other day launched, I think, 805 with cruise missiles. Like more recently on the 10th, I believe it was, they launched, I think it was over 400 drones with, I think, 40 cruise missiles. Those numbers might be slightly off, but you can see what I'm talking about now. Nobody can say that that is not an industrialization. You can't say that is not an industrialization of. Nobody can say that that is not war on an industrialized scale. It is. Those numbers are industrial numbers, and I've done it a lot of other times, guys. But you can, that the Russians have found that with mass, with numbers, they can overwhelm air defenses, and those initial drones, the initial drones that go in, I would say that they're not even armed. They don't even have munitions on them. So whereby those initial drones go in and the air defense fires up, you're spending maybe 100, 200 grand to try and take out a drone that's got that's worth maybe 10 grand. It's not cost effective, is it? A good way they can do that is just make it appear big on radar, and they can do that by having reflective materials. It's really easy to do, and in that way, the air defense will think, "Oh God, this is massive. We're gonna fire at it," and then you use very expensive missiles to take down a very cheap drone, which is not cost effective and it's not sustainable, because not only are those missiles expensive, it takes a long time to make them. You can't just go to Missiles Are Us and say, "Can I have another 50?" They'll say, "Oh, we need to make those first, bro." And they're like, "Well, how long does it take?" He's like, "Well, I'm backed up at the moment because you guys keep using them. So I can only make them as fast as I can make them." And it's not a case of money. It really isn't a case of money, guys. It's a case of machining. It doesn't matter how much money you've got, the machines. And sorry, guys, sorry to go down the road of the military industrial complex, but it doesn't matter how much money you throw at a company, if their machine can only make 2 items a week, if you give them $100 million, that machine will still only make 2 items a week. Now, how much does that machine cost? Okay, so, and this is what people don't understand. Politicians certainly don't understand this. A lot of people in the military don't understand this. That machine that makes your bombs, that machine might take 2-3 years to make. And you've got to pay for that machine up front. So you can't just throw money at these problems. You need to throw time at these problems. And unfortunately, right now, we don't have time. And that's one of the, I say beauties. That's one of the aces that the Russians have in their cap at the moment. They are building these cheap Shahed drones, and the bodywork. I mean, I could build the body. You could build the body in your garage. They're not difficult to make. Anyone who can lay carbon fiber or maybe even fiberglass, they can make the body. Then they give that to someone else. Someone else puts the engine in it. So you're industrializing this process. Whereas here in the West, oh, it's for the military. Oh, it needs X, Y, Z. All your people need to have security clearance. All your guys need to do this. Oh, you need to do that. It needs to be made with these materials. While the Russians are banging out 1,000 a week. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, so that was, I guess that's the first part of this live stream done. Up the Eastern, what's it called? Eastern Sentry. NATO's Eastern Sentry, which is in direct response to the invocation of Article 4. Right, let me get some, oh, hang on. Matt Alexander is saying, I think you're right. Drones would have to be fought with drones. Yeah, exactly. But what if the drones we sent had a small EMP device? Homemade EMPs can be made with disposable cameras and flash on them. Yeah. So the problem with homemade EMP devices, their range is relatively small. Now, you would need to get up really close to these other drones. And the energy involved. So you're talking about homemade EMPs, which is true. That will short out a mobile phone or something. What you're talking about now is 2 drones potentially flying towards each other, and one drone takes out the other, which is fine, but you only get one shot with an EMP. So yeah, I don't think the smaller EMP devices would work. But again, you can shield the electronics from EMP. So what you would get a natural progression. So yeah, you could do that, or you could have a ground-based. You could have a non-nuclear EMP. I guess you could have those ground-based. But the problem with all EMP stuff you can use it once because of the, if it's non-nuclear or if it's non-chemical, the amount of energy it takes up is huge. Freddie is saying 3 men. Oh God, absolutely unbelievable. I struggle with that, guys. Freddie's saying 3 men have been jailed in Kent for doing the thing that the 3 men, you know, the men would do to a 12-year-old girl in Kent. DB Cooper is saying, get Colonel Douglas McGregor on your show. Great man. Doesn't he like, I don't know. I've got some friends in America who actually know him. And they say he's just angry because they didn't give him his general. I don't know. Maybe he is. I don't know. Right, real quick, guys. I'm just going to try and look back at this rifle here that was the alleged rifle that shot. Guys, look, I'm looking at this for the first time. Is there anything on the internet about this rifle that shot, that was used in the Charlie Kirk? I've got to be careful what I say while I'm on TikTok. You guys know what I'm talking about. So there's a picture released. Let me ask Grok. Right, so I've just asked Grok, what's wrong with the picture of the rifle that was released by the police that killed, that shot Charlie Kirk? I'm just going to read you this, guys. The issue with the police released photo of the rifle in the Charlie Kirk shooting. Charlie Kirk, prominent, yada, 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 yada. Right. The rifle, a high-powered bolt-action Mauser 30 cal hunting rifle, was found hidden in a towel in a wooded area near the campus, along the suspected escape route of the shooter. It was discovered based on a surveillance video showing the suspect fleeing the rooftops, crossing a street, and entering the woods. Ballistics and forensics are ongoing to confirm it as the weapon used, but officials have stated it matches the shot's characteristics. What's wrong with the picture? And look, guys, I don't know here. I literally, before I got on, it just came up on my feed, and the first thing I thought about was, why wasn't there bipod legs at the front? You would definitely, if you're going to do that type of shot, like, you would have bipod legs. I don't care what anyone's saying. Like, I don't like bipod. I don't use a bipod for combat shooting. But if I'm taking a long range shot, it makes no sense not to have. It just gives you so much more, and they don't really weigh anything. And if you're only doing one shot and running, it's fine. The primarily anomaly in media reports, expert analysis, online discussion forums, including gun enthusiasts and forensic commentators, censors around the state of the rifles chambered in the released photo. Here's the breakdown. Okay. Bolt action rifles like the Mauser recovered operate by manually cycling the bolt after each shot. Yes. The spent brass casing and load a new round from the magazine, crucially after firing. The spent cartridge typically remains held in the chamber until the shooter manually extracts it. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't automatically. I don't know why that would be right. Come on, Grok. I need more than this. Oh, in the photo released on September the 11th, the rifle is shown with its bolt fully closed and the chamber appearing empty. No spent casing visible inside, and no indication of a fresh round loaded. This is unusual for a weapon just fired in an... What? That's ridiculous. They don't know what they're talking about. They do not know what they're talking about. Of course you take that, whatever. Experts such as firearm instructors and former law enforcement officer David Kempf, quoted in Fox News coverage, noted that the shooter in flight would likely leave the spent cartridge in the chamber to save time. Yes, but when he's in the woods, he might just make it safe. You know, you would do it, you know, as extracting it requires opening the bolt, which would delay his escape. No, I agree. The fact that the chamber looks clear suggests either the shooter took extra time to manually eject the casing before ditching the rifle, or he did it before he left it in the woods, or the rifle was handed or staged post-recovery, potentially by investigations, which raises... So they're not talking about the sights. That's really... Oh, and right. Sorry, guys. Engraved cartridges and scope. Nearby the rifle, authorities found bullet casings, including the spent one. So, like, if that makes... They're just contradicting themselves here. So this expert here, David Kempfer, I'm like, David, mate, I love you, bro. I don't know who you are, but, like, you don't know what you're talking about, with respect. Authorities found bullet casings, including the spent one, and the scope with engravings like "Hey Fascist, Catch" and anti-conservative slogans. However, the photo shows the rifle magazine partially loaded with unmarked rounds, but the spent casing was reportedly found separate, not in the chamber. This means nothing, guys. I think Grok's trying to have me on here. I'm really suspicious here. This mishmash has fueled speculation. Guys, I'm really concerned now about Grok. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's me that's wrong. I don't know. Condition of the weapon. The rifle appears to be unusually clean and undamaged for one abandoned. Shut up. No blood or handling marks. I don't even. That's ridiculous. Right. There's nothing about the site. Nothing about the site. So I've just asked Grok there to tell me what's wrong, and it's told me all the things that the mainstream have been talking about. And look, guys, I've done a lot of shooting. I have, more than most. Now, a lot more than most. And literally the first thing I looked at that rifle. Let me get the picture up actually real quick. So I'm looking at the rifle now, and this is from the Telegraph. So if you guys want to check this out yourself, this is an article from September the 11th at 9:43 p.m. BST. I don't know what that means. British Standard Time. So this was released yesterday, I guess. Well, it was, yeah, September the 11th, 9:43. Charlie Kirk, killer's ammunition engraved with pro-trans messages. I'm not interested about that. The main thing I'm looking at here, guys, and look, do you know what, guys? I'm calling it right now. I am calling it right now. That rifle, that's the sight on that rifle. The first thing, if he used that rifle, I've got to be clear. I've got to be clear. If he used that rifle and he was laid down in the prone position, I can guarantee he would have had a black eye. Like, he would. The sight's far too far back. I mean, I've got a rifle. Well, I've not got a rifle. I've got like a mock-up one. And I was just going to like show you. If he was standing up, yeah, you can get away with it when you're standing up. You can't do that when you're laying down. And I don't think he was stood up. I think Charlie would have seen him if he was standing up. So it just doesn't make any sense, guys. It makes no sense to me at all. And again, I'm looking at the rifle, and again, I'm thinking, why wouldn't you put bipod legs on that? You can get bipod legs that fit over the barrel. So why wouldn't you put bipod legs on that? Which is, do you know what, guys? At that distance, 130 meters, do you know what? Yeah, whatever. I'll go with that. But the sight's too far back. Now, yeah, and this is the other thing. Yeah. So this is the other thing. So I'm happy for you is saying, well, hang on, he's pinning something. So when he jumped off the roof, he didn't have the rifle. When did he jump in the woods? Yeah, So yeah, there's the other thing, isn't it? I naturally thought, so if you look, guys, going back to the Charlie Kirk, there's a video. So there's a video of the alleged assailant, and he's walking through a housing estate, right? And he looks to be limping. And I said, right, okay, what I think that is he's got his rifle and he's stripped it down. So he's got the barrel of that rifle with the scope attached down his trousers. Because you don't want to remove the scope, because if you remove the scope, you lose the zero. And it's a faff putting that back. Even if it's slightly off. So that's what I thought that was. And naturally, I came to the conclusion that this would have been a rifle that you could disassemble and put into a backpack. And like I'm happy for you, and I think Dreadhead186 said, hang on. Yeah, in fact, no, sorry. It's I'm happy for you. I'm happy today, are you? He said, let me pin this actually. I'll pin this and say it again. When he jumped off the roof, he didn't have a rifle. I agree. He didn't have a rifle. I mean, it could be argued he had it down his trousers again, but I don't think that's the case. I'm just trying to be objective here, guys. You know, he could have it. He could have had it down his. No, you're not going to jump off that building. Yeah, I agree. I agree, guys. I agree 100%. Well, I'm not going to agree with anything. What I'm going to say is it didn't appear that he had a rifle when he jumped off that building. Like I said, my initial thoughts were it was a rifle that you could collapse, and he had the barrel and the scope, and he didn't want to collapse those while he was moving into position because he'd lose the zero, which would make perfect sense. And then once he'd done the job, he collapsed his rifle, put it in his backpack, and went. But that rifle that we're seeing the picture of, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, like I'm happy for you today, is quite rightly so. You know, he didn't have a rifle when he. Oh, let's be clear, guys. Let's be clear, all right? He didn't appear to have a rifle. Let's be clear. I don't know. The images is not that. The image isn't that good, but 100%, he didn't appear to have a rifle. I will agree with that. This rifle that they're showing us pictures of. This rifle that they're showing us pictures of right now. The scope is in it's far too far back. Anyway, and then I just asked AI about it, and AI gave me like a load of swizzle. So I don't know. Yup is saying, Sean, have you heard the Discord chats to him discussing it? I've not heard any of that stuff, guys. You know, I haven't heard any of that. Is it credible? His roommate spoke to the police. It's in his statements. And Paige Olivia is saying, protest in my town tomorrow, feeling anxious. I live on a Carasat van site. Will I be safe? What, Paige Olivia, if I may, can you tell me what region you're in? I don't want to know your, you know, obviously don't tell me your town or anything. Just tell me like what region you're going to be in. I don't, you obviously you've not answered that now. I would say yes. I think any festivities are going to be in London tomorrow, guys. You know, I do. I think any festivities are going to be in London. So Hassan Youssef is saying, and I have pinned it, Hassan Youssef is saying, Israel and America are the bad guys. Do you agree, Sean? I'm not going to agree. I'm not going to disagree. I'm going to say there are lots of strange things happening in the world right now, and I don't know what. I'll be quite honest. I don't know. I understand that, you know, there's a lot of question marks about Israel's how much money they fund America and how much money they pump into America, and I totally get that. You know, I totally take all those arguments. I just don't know. You know, I don't know. I guess at some point we'll find out. But right now, as I'm doing this video, I've not got smoking gun. I mean, there was a lot of people saying that you know, the shooter of Charlie Kirk was, you know, a lot of people are saying that the shooter of Charlie Kirk was Mossad, and I mean, I think from what we're seeing right now, that just isn't the case. So, you know, I'm not disagreeing with you, Hassan Youssef. I'm saying I don't know. Paige Olivia is saying Canterbury, Kent. What a beautiful place. My friend lives in Canterbury. There are a lot of students there, isn't there? I think just stay out of the city centre. Stay out of Canterbury city centre. Stay at home, and you will more than likely be fine. Dread is saying avoid London if you're brown like me. I think you're wrong. Dreadhead is saying avoid London if you're brown like me. I don't think colours that, you know, I'm confident that we have had in the United Kingdom, we have had a long history, you know, of people from all different backgrounds. I think the last 10, 15 years has just escalated that. And I think it's all about culture right now. Martin Quinn is saying, does that mean the man was wrongfully arrested will get compensation? I don't know what that means, Martin. Mike, what man? I don't know what that means, Martin. I don't know what that means. Does that mean the man was wrongfully? I don't know who we're talking about there. Yup is saying culture is the most dangerous thing to combine with others. Dreadhead is saying, yes, you could be right. Good point. Yeah, look, so I just want to go on to this as well, because, you know, I get this a lot. People come and like, they throw like massive, and you certainly haven't done this, but like, you know, Dreadhead is saying, you could be right. Good point. And like, if you go back to 1990, there was no such thing as like, you know, anti-immigration protests or anti-this protests, because nobody, and you know, no, I mean, look, let's think about what was it Euro 96? Like Euro 96, I can remember being at school watching Euro 96, and Paul Ince had like a massive cut on his head, and he was bleeding, and he said, no, don't take me off, just bandage it up. And you know, everyone was like, oh, Paul Ince is awesome. He's representing the cross of St. George with the blood and the linen. And like, nobody thought twice that he was black. Like nobody thought twice that he was black. But we've had this forced upon us now, because we've been told that we've got to integrate with other cultures that don't want to integrate with us. And they come here and we've got to bend over for them, and it just, you know, it just doesn't work. Yup is saying, if you ask ChatGTP about his Discord chat texts, it will tell you. Lord of Language is saying, NATO about to send the stop it please letter to Russia. You mean? Yeah, they're going to send a strongly worded letter to they're going to send a strongly worded letter to Russia. And Kenzie is saying, NATO are preparing a defensive response to Russia. Poland is building up on the border of Belarus. Right, I'm going to jump over and get some comments off YouTube, and then I will continue. We're going to talk about the fear and confusion that's spreading at the moment in the United Kingdom and in the West in general. Lisa Jane is saying the Sex Pistols were the worst thing in the 80s, and pop music ruled in the 90s. Well, Lisa Jane's just throwing it out there. She's unafraid. John Giles is saying, we have to forget the past. It will never be the same again. Absolutely. I always say to people, look, we ain't going back. We're not going back. We're moving forwards, and whatever we move into, that's where we're moving. Two Sides is saying we all bleed the same at the end of the day. I agree. Two Sides, we do. Yeah, sorry, I just did that one. endeavor to preserve is saying they want you to be afraid. The United States, it's time to be brave and go about your normal life. People are afraid right now, guys. You know, there's a lot of fear in the United Kingdom, an unbelievable amount. From now, it's saying it's not about color. I'm mixed race and I'm going. Okay, talking about the cultures. Oh, and Silly Kaladi here, she's from Israel. She's saying, what would the world do if they had no Jews to blame every time something goes on? Look, guys, like, okay, so how do we, like Jewish people, there is like these backroom conspiracy theories about, like, there's this secret cabal of Jewish influencing everything. And, like, I get it. And look, guys, I'm just like telling you what I'm seeing. I totally accept that there are a lot of Jewish people running big companies at the top of media corporations. But you know what, guys? What does that mean? There's a lot of black guys who dominate boxing. Does that mean there's some sort of conspiracy to have black people dominate boxing and not let white people have a fair chance at boxing? You know, white men are more likely to commit financial fraud. Does that mean that there's a secret cabal of white men moving around trying to, like, protect fraud? Look, guys, I think certain people like look, again, you know, most serving military in the United Kingdom are what, you know, identify as white Christians. So is there some sort of conspiracy to only recruit white Christians to the military? You know, I don't know. Well, that's what I'm saying. And I don't have enough information on it. And, like, I always think, you know, I like to think, you know, when people throw conspiracies, I like to think the answer is something more simple. Because when you start having to, and look, guys, let me be clear. I'm not saying that any of these conspiracies are wrong, because I've been wrong before. What I'm saying is I always try to find the most simple solution. It's called Occam's razor. So, you know, when you come up with a solution, with a problem, and you start having to invent, oh, but this guy's in a secret society and he's in contact with alien and transdimensional beings, and they come down and you're like, yeah, okay, I get that. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, isn't there a more simple solution? And I think there is. But I'm not. I don't know. And Tilly Gallardi is saying, just a reminder, Jews are only 0.2% of the world population. I mean, it'd be a fantastic feat if it, you know, if it was true. Kenzie is saying France and Britain are deploying fighter jets to Poland to defend the skies. Yeah, I agree with that. It's part of this operation, Eastern Shield, Eastern Sentry. Oh, right. Ham and Eggs are saying, don't get splinters on your arse, Sean. That fence is rotten. Right, Ham and Eggs. Ask me a question, and I'll give you the answer to it. Ask me the direct question, like, what do I think, and I'll give you the answer to it. What I think. Ask me the question, because I'm trying to answer a lot of questions here. So this is directly to Ham and Eggs now. On I actually had Ham and Eggs earlier the other day when I was talking to you last. So Ham and Eggs. Ask me the direct question to what I'm sitting on the fence with, and I'll throw it back to you, and I'll tell you what I think. Right, hang on, guys. Give me a second. Yeah, sorry. I'm waiting for Ham and Eggs. Are you still on? Is Ham and Eggs still on? I hope he is. Right, I'll wait for Ham and Eggs to respond. So also, we've talked about the this new Eastern Sentry that's happening in the West, I guess, as a direct response as a direct response to these drones going into look. And guys, when we're talking about these drones that went into Poland, they're not these little quadcopter things. We're talking about the very big drone, 200 kilo. It's one of the big drones. It's maximum takeoff weight 200 kilo. The Shaheeds, you have to use rockets to get them up. And then they don't come back. It's a one-way trip for these drones. So that's what we're talking about. And here in the United Kingdom right now, guys, there is fear, there's confusion, there is doubt, there's all sorts of crazy things spreading. So my mum was here earlier, and she was she'd seen the video of the girl Irina Zarutska, and like we had this massive, we had this massive information overload on like the 10th, didn't we? It was just a massive information overload. And we kind of forgot what happened to Maria Zarutska. My mum's only just seen that, and she's absolutely mortified. And one of the things she was saying is like, she said, oh, it could happen to anyone. And I'm like, yeah, I know it could happen to anyone. And fear really is spreading. And tomorrow in the United Kingdom, there's this, the free speech festival. I think what people, in fact, I know what people are worried about right now. There was a lot of people making videos about doing bad things to people. You guys have seen it. People wishing harm. People are doing videos saying, oh, I hope so-and-so's next. Oh, we got Charlie Kirk. I hope so-and-so's next. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute. And I saw a couple of videos of threats directly made to Nigel Farage. Now, whether you like Nigel Farage or not, I hope, with the compassion in me, I hope that you still want him to go home to his wife and kids. I do. I hope that. I hope, regardless of what you think about the man, I hope that you want him to go home to his wife and kids. So when these threats are made to, I guess, members of parliament in the United Kingdom, and nothing happens, how are we supposed to see that that's not a two-tier system? When Lucy Conley, she said something about, what did she say? She said, you can do something for all I care. And she was hurting. These people who claim to be on the left, who claim to be liberal, who claim to be, who claim to be welcoming, they're not saying things out of fear. They're not saying things out of anger. They're actually happy that they're actually happy about what happened to Charlie Kirk. And they're saying, oh, yeah, we're so happy. We want this person to be next. Hang on a minute. Are you telling me that's not inciting violence? And if they're openly inciting violence and making videos of themselves without a care, do you think they'd think twice about doing something to you if they thought they could get away with it? Honest question, guys. Honest question. Do you think these liberals would, if they're openly calling for politicians, things, I've got to be careful while I'm on TikTok, guys. In fact, I am going to jump over to YouTube in a second. Hang on. Kenneth Muziami saying glory to Russia, and I would say back to him, Slava Ruski Chubak. And I'm gonna assume you don't speak Russian, but if you speak Russian, please speak Russian back to me, and I'll respond in Russian. Glory to Russia. Look, guys, and with respect to the gentleman who just wrote, Kenneth there, and Kenneth, I hope you go home to your family as well. Right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, guys, I'm going to start to close this down now on TikTok. I will continue this live stream over on YouTube and X. So if you've not done so already, I'm the Real Raven One on YouTube. I'm the Real Raven One on X, and of course, I'm the Real Raven One on TikTok. So if you guys want to jump over there now and continue this conversation, if not, I am going to close this down in a couple of minutes on TikTok. But don't worry, I'll be back on tomorrow morning at 10. And we can talk about what crazy shenanigans have happened in the last 12 hours. Because look, let's face it, something's going to happen tonight, and we're all going to wake up in the middle of the night. I'll probably be doing an emergency live stream in the middle of the night saying, guys, look, this has happened. And also tomorrow I'm going to do on, I'm going to do a live stream on the event that's happening in London. The covers guy, hang on, let me pin this. The covers guy is saying, you on YouTube? Yes, I'm triple streaming. I stream on YouTube, I stream on X, and I stream on TikTok. So guys, if you are, yes, I stream on all three platforms simultaneously at the same time together. We have like a social media four-way where I'm dealing with three platforms, and I'm just being myself as well. So yes, I am streaming on YouTube as well. I will continue this live stream over on YouTube in a little bit, guys. I will. The covers guy, no. I'm just saying the covers guy that I know I don't say it often enough. I should say like, comment, subscribe, share, bell notification down there. I know I should say that a lot. I don't say that as much as I should. There's this thing about like asking for a rose every day as well. Like if I should ask, like I should say, can you all send me a rose? Can I have my daily rose? Look, guys, I'm not going to ask you for a daily rose. Oh, thank you, Gemini blessings, please. Look, guys, as I understand it, those roses cost you money, right? And I don't want your money. I want you to live a full life. I want you to live a happy life. I want you to live a long and prosperous life. So if you can do that, I would be happy. But you know, when you start this, when you click on the software, just as a quick, when you click on the software to come on TikTok, it says like you must ask your followers to send roses and stuff. I'm like, I'm not doing that. You know, I'm not asking people to send me roses. It's, you know, you've got to get, I don't even know what it is, but they give you like tasks each day. I'm not going to sit here asking for likes and follows and shares and gifts. I don't know. Maybe it just feels icky, guys. It just feels icky. Like I said, guys, I'm going to jump over to YouTube now. I'm going to jump over to YouTube. We'll be talking about this Eastern Sentry, talking about fear and confusion that's taken hold of the United Kingdom and taken hold of the West as well. I am going to try and dig deeper into this rifle that was found, the alleged rifle that the Charlie Kirk shooter used. A lot of question marks to me, and the fact that I'm the only person who's picking this up about the site, it just seems weird, guys. It just seems weird. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, just quickly before you go, I watched a movie the other night called Cowboys and Aliens. Absolutely fantastic. I don't know why I'd not seen Cowboys and Aliens before. It's got Daniel Craig, Harrison Ford. It's like I couldn't believe I'd not watched Cowboys and Aliens before. Like, it's just fantastic. So as a quick recommendation, guys, if you want to search for it, go watch Cowboys and Aliens. It's awesome. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back on tomorrow morning at 10. I will be doing a live stream tomorrow when the protest is on, and I will also be jumping over now to YouTube. And if you've not followed me there, I'm a Real Raven One on YouTube, where I will be continuing this stream. I'll see you later. We're off. We are off, and we are just streaming with you fantastic people on YouTube and X. So, right, let's delve into this rifle, guys. Let's delve into this rifle, because it doesn't make sense to me. Absolutely. Right, do you know what? I'm going to get it up here. I'm going to share this screen with you real quick. Charlie Kirk. Oh, that's weird. Can't find it. Oh, there it is. Right, I'm just getting this news article up, guys, and I'll share it with you in a sec. Right, I've got it. Right, so that paywall. So that rifle there, I don't know. I don't know if that's the actual rifle or if that's a rifle that looks like the rifle. Down there at the bottom, it says the discarded bolt action rifle believed to have been used to shoot Charlie Kirk. Now, the rifle clearly has the capability. Just the sight's too far back. And if you think about his cheek, like, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but his cheek's going to be there. So that eye, it's going to be right onto his eye. And that doesn't give you a good sight picture. It gives you like a terrible sight picture. The better, you know, for a better sight picture, you want to come back like 4 to 6 inches and you get a better sight picture. So for a sight picture and alignment, it's in a terrible place. Because when you're real close, you can. It's really difficult. I'm not saying he's not done this. I'm saying it just doesn't make sense. At the front of this rifle here, if he was taking that shot, again, I will accept it wasn't a long range shot. So maybe he just didn't go for. Maybe he just thought, you know what? I know I'm a good shot, and I know I don't need bipod legs. But even so, you know, a shot of that magnitude. You know, you would think, you know, a shot of that magnitude, you would think that he would have bipod legs on it. Again, I can take it though that he didn't have bipod legs. If you know, it's only 130 meters. It's not a massive shot, but still, you want to have the best. You want to get the best out of the rifle. I initially thought, like one of you guys were saying, I initially thought that this was a takedown rifle. So you can get rifles that you can collapse them. One of the things you can't really do is remove the rifle from the furniture, because remove the scope from the furniture. So the wood or the housing of the rifle that's not the working parts, that's called the furniture. So you wouldn't really, well, you shouldn't remove the scope from its attachment points, because as soon as you remove the scope from its attachment points, you lose the zero. So when we saw those images of him walking through the housing estate and he was limping, I thought, right, okay, he's got the barrel down his leg and he's kept the scope on. That makes perfect sense. And then once he's done the shot, he's come back down into the dead ground, he's disassembled the rifle, put it in his day sack, and he's gone. Now we're looking at this rifle, and the videos we've seen of this guy jumping off the roof, it doesn't look like he's got that. Go on. It doesn't look like he's got a rifle. I don't care what anyone says. It doesn't look like he's got a rifle. So I don't know, guys. Let me know what does everyone else think? Like, is there any shooters? Is anyone out there doing if there's anyone out there, right, and you can confirm or add to that and say, actually, Sean, that particular rifle, you do have the sights there because of X, Y, and Z. Please let me know. But just looking at the where those sights are, the first thing that is screaming out to me, they're too far back. Kenneth is saying, why are Ukrainians celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk? That's against the so-called thing they cried to fight about. I don't know any Ukrainians that are. I don't know any Ukrainians that are. I don't know any Ukrainians that are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. Where are you getting that from, Kenneth? And I'll try and look into that for you, mate. Sean McKay is saying, US people on here, please fulfill the Amazon thing that's going about. I've got a screenshot of it. US people on here, please. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Philip Gray saying, I shot a rifle and it blacked my eye. Yeah, so Philip Gray, I'm assuming that when you fired that rifle, your eye was too close to the scope and it hit you in the eye, which is what that rifle would have done. Silly says, I was in the IDF and I never shot a rifle. Kenzie is saying, breaking, Poland has requested an emergency security meeting. That I don't think that's breaking, Kenzie. I think that happened today. So what we're talking about there is, I think we're talking about the NATO Article 4 meeting that was, so the NATO Article 4 meeting, which happened, I believe, today. And as an outcome of that, what we're being told is, and I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but what we're being, But what we're being told is they have introduced something called Eastern Sentry, which is a series of measures, a series of measures to protect that eastern flank. Lisa Jane is saying, Sean, I think he has planted that rifle in the woods and used a different one. Look, I'm not jumping down. Look, I don't know. That's the reality. I'm giving you guys an objective opinion on the information I've got. I will always try and give you the simplest answer. But when the questions keep adding up to the simplest answer, you can't go with the simplest answer anymore. So the main one for me is the sites. It just doesn't make sense. Does not make sense. Martin Quinn is saying Aberystwyth's near the island where Bear Grylls lives in. And what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And Trident is saying, definitely didn't jump off the roof with that massive gun, that's for sure. It's not actually, the rifle's not actually that big itself, but yeah, I would say that it certainly doesn't appear that that guy jumped off that roof with a rifle. I mean, it was quite a big drop, wasn't it? It was quite a big drop. I mean, it was at least, I'd say it was at least his body height. I would say it was at least his body height and half where his legs were. So he dangled down and then he dropped. So I would say that dangle and the drop was like, I don't know, 8, maybe 10 feet, would you say? 8, 10 feet to drop down. You're not doing that with a rifle down your trousers. Not a chance, guys. Your legs getting, you know, your legs having a bad day with that. Oh, right. Okay, we're talking about wrong messages there. Right, let me jump up, guys, and get these messages. So Lord of Langworth here is saying, I find it kind of scary that his last name was Robinson, like it's a hint of what's next. Yeah, I saw that when I saw like Tommy Robinson did a post and he said like, I was like, what? Hey, Tommy Robinson's posting about the other Robinson. Yeah, it was a bit weird, wasn't it? From now, he's saying, did you see the men doing hand signals? Yeah, I've spoke about this, guys. I don't think there were men behind him doing hand signals. I really don't. I don't think there was any men behind him doing my hand signals. I saw a guy stretching his arm because he'd probably been to the gym yesterday. That's all I saw. I saw another guy touching his hat. You've got to think. Let's just say, and again, I'm using Occam's razor here, guys. I'm thinking about the simplest thing. If you start to say, you know, there was 2 spotters in the audience next to him, why would you need 2? That's doubling your chance of compromise. So let's just play it through. So you're there. You're about to commit the biggest act of your life. This is the biggest. Like, if you're that shooter, you are literally about to commit the biggest act of your life. It's going to change your life. It's going to change his life. Like, this is a massive, you're under pressure. That's what I'm getting at there. You're under pressure. Probably never done that. I don't know if he's done this before. Let's just say we don't know. So you're looking through your sight, and let's just say let's just say he's looking properly through the sight, and he's 4 to 6 inches back or whatever. He's got his sight really zoomed in, so he can make that perfect shot. Whether it's crosshairs or reticule, I don't know. Probably crosshairs. And you're slowing your breathing down. Well, it'd be like that. He's not looking to the left and right and behind him to see who's doing these things. Like, you're not looking. It just doesn't work like that. So that's the first thing. Where I don't think those guys behind him have any real relevance. The second thing is, like, what information could they have possibly portrayed to him? Yes, shoot. No, don't shoot. Shoot's on. Shoot him in the neck. Shoot him in the head. Like, there's no information that could have helped at that point, especially at that range. So when you're doing shooting, you don't aim off for wind at 100. If it's 100 meters or less, you don't worry about wind. There's no point worrying about wind if you're 100 meters or less. This was 130 meters. So yes, I agree, over that threshold of wind, but only just. So I would say he's not going to be bothering about wind at that. I don't know how windy it was. So if you say that it was, if we're saying that the guys behind were giving him the windage at 130 meters, guys, you really wouldn't bother unless it was a massively windy day. You just wouldn't bother. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. 100 meters. There's too much energy in that round when it comes out. Oh, so Tracy McKibben is saying the guy has bad eyesight and modified the sight for him. He wore prescription sunglasses, right? Okay, yeah, that still doesn't change anything. It's not about magnification. It's about focal length. So, give me a second. I've got something. Give me a second. I've got a prop. Somewhere. Ah, here they are. We're a bit dusty. Right. So here's my binoculars, all right? I've got my binoculars here, right? These are my binoculars, Tracy, all right? These are my binoculars, right? If I put my eyes really close to them like this, I can hardly see anything because I can like see that much and everything around it's black. If I about there, I can see, I get a better sight picture because I'm there and I can see better things. So if you think about this sniper now, and he's looking like this, and he's got his eye right up to it, yeah, if you get your eye right up to it and press it and pull the trigger, that's going to whack him in the eye. Straight away, he's going to have a black eye. So what you have to do is, scopes made for rifles, they're obviously made like this. So the best sight picture on a scope is about, about here. And then it can do that and it's fine. So it's not about his eyesight. It's about, the physics of the rifle. Kenzie is saying, do you see Poland invading Belarus? I see. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I 100% do. A few things would have to happen first. There would have to be an exchange of artillery, indirect fire first. Now, I believe this will come at the next potential. I believe this will come at the next drone incursion, because what I think will happen would be in the meeting that NATO had where they're discussing Article 5. What I think will have happened would be they'll have said, right, okay, obviously there's what we've been told, but behind closed doors, they will have had other discussions. I think what they will have said is something like, right, okay, look, if these drones come from Belarus again, we're going to take out those launch sites. We're just going to destroy them. You know, we know where they're coming from. We're just going to take them out. I think that would be fair. And in that response, that's when you're going to start to see the hostilities between Belarus and Poland. It makes sense. If you're Russia, if you're Putin, it makes sense for you to get your attack dog to fight with Poland, because then all Poland's resources then get sucked into Belarus and they don't get sucked into Ukraine. By, you know, definition, then they don't get sucked into Russia. So that would be a good way of bringing Belarus into the war and taking Poland out of the war from the Russian side. GB News have just shown Nigel Farage asking the police if the police are going to arrest. Yeah, guys, look, I said it earlier. I've not seen that video, but earlier on this, I don't know. If you've seen my video on TikTok, I've got a screenshot behind me of some really disgusting things that people have been saying. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute. I thought if we shouted at a dog, it's 20 months in jail. I thought if we said, you can do this for all I care, was inciting violence. So surely saying those things about Nigel Farage that I'm not going to repeat, you know, is also inciting violence. But look, you know, Lisa, let's not forget, Ricky Jones said, you know, let's cut their, well, yeah, I'm not on TikTok. Ricky Jones said, let's cut their throats and get rid of them. And he was totally, you're totally fine with that. So yeah, it's like, I don't know. What do we think? Do we think we've got a two-tier police system, or do we think it's fair and just? KK is saying, I question whether his team noticed the shooter last seconds, as he must have revealed himself to take the shot. Not necessarily, KK. Remember, they're in a tent. There's a roof on the tent. If he'd been there a while, there's no reason to look there. One of the things you have to do when you're doing sniper training in the military is you have to wait in that location for a long time until your target comes into an interview. You have to take the shot and then you have to stay there. It's all about camouflage and concealment. So not necessarily. One of the things I will say is, and you can't really take much from this. Again, there's a lot of people on the internet, like internet experts, which I'm clearly one of them. There's a lot of people on the internet who probably have got more experience than me, and they're saying, and they're right to say this, they're saying that normally if you're doing a sniper shot, you do it from inside a building in the shadows, because then you don't know where that's come from. You've not skylined yourself. But with that, if you do take the shot from a building, you have to get out of that building then. And there's going to be people in that building, and somebody may see you, somebody may wrestle you to the ground. It's, if you take a shot in a building, you know, some people in that building are like, somebody just shot over there. You know, I've seen it myself. So if you do it on the roof, yes, it's got its drawbacks, but you can literally run straight off the roof and into the woods like you did. Right, there's loads of comments, guys. I'm just jumping down. Lisa Jane is saying Ricky Jones should have been locked up. I saw that live on TV. It was absolutely disgusting. It was disgusting, but can you remember also the, can you remember also the heckling hens around him going, oh, yes, Ricky. Yes, Ricky. We love you, Ricky. You're so fantastic, Ricky. Like, can you remember all those people clapping at the side of him? Like, to me, they're just as bad. Carol Brown is saying the left have their, what a fantastic picture as well, Carol Brown, of a little, what's that, a little snow cat or something. Carol Brown is saying the left have their own laws. They do, and we have to play by their game, I guess. Lord of Language is saying they used to say every Russian sub had a Yank or Brit behind them just in case. I don't know what that means. Every Russian submarine had an American or British behind them. I don't know what that means, Lord of Language. Can you elaborate on that, please? Kenneth is saying Article 5 will never be activated. no one in their right mind would be stupid to start a suicide mission for the whole world. So, Kenneth, just real quickly, I have spoke about this in quite a few live streams, mate. So, Article 5, and I've spoke about this as well with like really prominent members of parliament, and they all say the same. They all say like nobody would dare attack NATO because they would invoke Article 5. Well, Article 5, what it actually says is an attack on one member state is deemed an attack on all member states. Yes. Then it goes on and it continues, and people don't understand that Article 5, it's quite a paragraph. At the bottom of that paragraph, what it actually says is the meat of it. It says that the Security Council will convene and they will decide what action to take to bring, I think it says, peace and stability back to that region. So let me just give you a quick example. Let's just say, for example, that the Russians blew up a Polish airfield because they believed that Polish aircraft were flying Ukrainian F-16s and they were bombing their country. And then the Russians said, yeah, look, we took out that airfield because you were doing this. We know you were doing that. You know you were doing that. So that's it now. It's over. By the time the Security Council have convened, it's over. It's finished. Like, what security can you bring back to Poland? There's no enemy troops in Poland. The attack's over. Like, so I don't think Article 5 is actually worth the paper it's written on. This is why I think Article 4 is a lot more potent, because Article 4 is when you get everyone around the room, you get all the NATO members in the room, all 32 members, and you're like, right, if Belarus or if Russia does this, what can we do and how are you going to support? So then they put that into a framework, they all agree on it. So then the next time that missile flies over or whatever, you know, Poland can say, right, we know what's happening. Press, see you later. That's why I think Article 4 is more potent. Yeah, Martin Quinn saying it's not worth the paper it's written on. I don't think so either. Oh, hang on. Ian McMahon is saying, our subs and destroyers always found Russian subs. We found one in the Irish Sea by accident during an anti-sub exercise. How embarrassing is that for the Russians? I mean, you know, yes, British are coming out here. They don't know we're here. Just be very quiet. Yoda, open vodka, turn engine off and open vodka, but very slowly. We don't want British to know we are here. Okay, Vladimir. Glub, 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 glub. They will not know. Dos Medania. Yeah, I mean, that's embarrassing. I know back before, I think early 2022, I actually think it was February 2022, just before the invasion. There was a big Russian exercise in international waters in the Atlantic and just off the coast of Ireland. And I think this is why Sarah made me do these, made me start these channels. Sarah was saying, she's saying, oh, Sean, look, why are the Russians there? And I looked and I said, they'll probably be tampering with the fiber optic cables. And she said, what? And I said, the fiber optic cables. And I had to explain that there's fiber optic cables and that's right where they run. And, you know, she didn't realize any of this stuff was happening. So, yeah, I think that's what they were doing. Oh, Claire. Sorry. I had to do some welding today, guys, and I bit my finger. Yeah, I had to do some welding. I bit my finger. Claire is saying, I've been here a while, but thought I would say hi to everyone. And hi to you. Hi to you, Claire. I hope you're well. Dude Monkfish is saying, end of days as we know it are upon us. You know what? I wouldn't just say like end of days as in like a biblical text, but I would say people think, I mean, I've heard people saying, you know, I want things to go back to normal. Normal's over. What we perceived as normal in the 90s, 2018, 2019, until the end of it, that's gone. What's coming now, it's literally on a daily basis. And like, you know, the fear and the confusion, it's just all building up and it's taking hold at the moment here in the West. And it's unbelievable, you know, it really is. Donna Hogan is saying, Russia says Ukrainian talks paused as it launched major drills with Belarus. Moscow accuses Russia of blocking Ukraine peace talks. Donald Trump warns he may be losing patience with Vladimir Putin. So let's just talk about Donald Trump and his patience with Vladimir Putin. So I don't know if you follow my other channels, Donna. You know, even on this channel, you can look back. In fact, I definitely did a video on YouTube, and I said how Putin will play Trump. It was like quite an old video before he was. This was in like maybe. This was maybe in October. You know, when Donald Trump was saying he's going to have a peace deal in Ukraine in 24 hours before he's even inaugurated. He's going to win the election. There's going to be a peace deal. I did a video saying, and this is all public record. You can go back, look through it. I said what Putin will do, because I understand how different cultures work. They're just going to kick the can down the road. They're just going to kick the can down the road. Yes, we want peace negotiations. Yes, we want a peace deal. Yes, we want everything to stop. At the same time, they're going to be pushing forward drone strikes, taking more ground, taking more territories, more drones, building their industrial capacity. Yes, we want peace talks. You know, they're literally just going to kick the can down the road. So that was always going to happen. The drills, the exercise between Russia and Belarus that are being held at the moment in Belarus. Now, this is an exercise about moving troops, moving mass troops. They're not really doing any, well, I don't believe they're doing any tactical firing or anything. They're just moving troops and nuclear weapons around Belarus. Now, they call it an exercise, but I think it will have operational significance. Philip Gray is saying, I know we joke about the Russians, but they're extremely adaptable. They rally pretty quick. Anyone remember Stalingrad? I don't remember Stalingrad. I'm not old enough, but I do know about Stalingrad. Yeah. And I guess this is what I always say. We've got two conflicting metrics here. You've got mass and you've got technology, I guess. So which one of those is going to win? I'm looking at these battlefields and I'm looking at everything holistically. And like earlier on, I just gave you like a big analogy of how you can't just keep throwing money. And this is what winds me up, guys. You know, like people think that an artillery round costs, I don't know, depending on $500 or whatever, 500 euros, doesn't matter. X, let's call it 1,000, whatever. They think that because an artillery round costs $1,000, if you throw 10 million at a company, they will give you X amount of artillery rounds. Doesn't work like that. You have to produce them. And those machines that they've got, they can only produce so many artillery rounds per day, per hour, or whatever. So doesn't matter how much money you throw at that machine, it's not going to be able to produce any faster. It's like your washing machine at home. If you throw a load of money at your washing machine at home, you can't suddenly cram it with a load more washing. It just doesn't work like that. So then you have to have these machines built. Now, there's only a few manufacturers of these machines in Europe. And they take years to build, guys. You can't just go to 105 millimeter howitzer machines or us. It doesn't work like that. You have to go, you have to have a consultation, you have to tell them what you want, you have to give them your budget, you have to give a deposit, maybe even pay in full, you know, and then you receive that machine. And even when you receive that machine, as soon as you get that machine's going to take 3, maybe 6 months, maybe even more to be working properly. Because like I said, These machines, it's not like buying a car. You just go put the keys in and you're gone. These machines, they need, the company that's built the machine will send a couple of technicians. Right, we've got the machine, it's plugged in, there's power going to it. Let's do a batch and we'll test that batch. It takes time. You can't just throw money at these things. So, yeah. However, that's here in the West. The Russians, they are building things really quick because they've not shackled themselves with those amounts of red tape. Right, hang on, guys. Let me. John Giles is saying tech didn't work well for the Germans, did it? Yeah. So if you guys run well, you probably can't. I know I can't. I was alive. Again, you've got this technology versus mass. So yes, you may be able to get a prototype. Like in the end days of the Second World War, the Germans had jet fighters. They had jet fighters. They didn't have them in sufficient numbers to make a difference. They just didn't have them. Now there was a lot of problems. There's a lot of problems behind the scenes. Goring and I think it was Goring and Hitler. They were arguing. I think Goring wanted it to be a jet fighter or a bomber, and good old Adolf wanted it to be the other one. I can't remember which one it was, but there was a lot of infighting. They were saying, yes, we make bomber. And the other guys are saying, nine, we make fighter and protect bombers. So, there was an argument, and that was delays and months went by. All this time, the Allied forces are producing standardized kit equipment and driving forwards. Right, I'm just going to jump down to the bottom, guys. I'm going to start to close this down. Philip, in fact, hang on. This sounds like the beginning of the joke. So Donald Trump walked into a bar. If Donald Trump said to Putin, right, stop now, otherwise I will send troops, do you think Putin would stop? No. Putin knows the game. Putin knows that the United States are going to be having their war in the Middle East. And he knows that if the United States break their, and the Americans know this as well, and the United States know that if they break their spear in Ukraine, fighting the Russians, that's going to leave them vulnerable for a potential conflict in the Middle East, which it 100% is. Ian is saying, I was in Bosnia in a split dockyard back in the 90s. Now, this does sound like a joke. And we met the Russian Navy on their training ship. We all got chatting, broke the ice, talked about football, and then got the vodka out. Good. Yeah, no, look, guys, look. At the bottom level, and I always say this, at the bottom level, there's more that unites people than divides people. We have this political class. I'm talking about the United Kingdom now, who've no idea what they're doing. I mean, go and check out my video that I did. Go and watch the live stream I did this morning. I was talking about the similarities between what's happening in the United Kingdom right now, how that's escalating to MPs' surgeries being burnt down. So that's actually happened now in the United Kingdom, and how I was warning about that last months ago, or maybe even last year. And I'm not saying this because I've got some crystal ball, and I haven't. I've got an 8-ball. It's not that accurate. I'm saying this because historically, this is what happens. Now, I did 5 tours in Northern Ireland with the military, and I know the government know what I'm saying because the government told me what I'm repeating to you. So I know they know this. And it is astounding how quickly we're driving forwards here. Right, I'm going to get the last couple of comments, guys, and I'm going to close this down. Claire Price is saying, I don't have a very nice feeling about tomorrow. I really don't. Claire, I've done a couple of videos on this. I've done a couple of videos on this. I've talked about the threat level. I do think that since I did the first video and I was talking about the threat, and I was talking about, what to do if you find yourself in that scenario, run, hide, fight. And it should be run, really, like run. how we had Charlie Kirk's assassination. We had the bombing of Qatar. We have had a whole host of animosities and hatred. So obviously, the next focal point is going to be London. There's a big march. There's a lot of people going to be there. And those people, unfortunately, I believe, will be a target. Now, whether something happens or not, let's ask the 8-ball. Is there going to be, obviously, there's going to be minor scuffles. We know that. I'm just worried about like a major incident where people don't go home to their kids. And I mean on both sides of this spectrum now, guys. Like, I don't want anybody not to go home to their kids or family. So will there be a major, I'm asking the Magic 8-ball, will there be a major incident in London in the Freedom March tomorrow? Focus and ask again. Come on, guys. You guys are not focusing. You need to focus with me. Come on. Let's ask again. It's not very accurate. I always say it's probably the worst 8-ball I've got. Very likely. It says very likely. Thank you for your focus. So the Magic 8-ball says very likely. Martin is saying all the German scientists at the end of the World War ended up in America. Not just America, actually. They were split up and formed NASA. They were far advanced on their rockets than we were. Yeah. So we're talking about Operation Paperclip at the end of the Second World War, where they said, right, you scientists, come with us. We need your technology. We need you to make these rockets and stuff. So it was Werner von Braun who went over to America, and he was the lead rocket engineer that developed the Saturn V rockets. There was a lot of other sciences. There was a lot of shady stuff. There's a lot of shady stuff around around NASA, basically, how it was made. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but in Hebrew, Nasha means to deceive. The Jet Propulsion Laboratory was founded by a guy called Aleister Crowley. Now, if you want to look at Aleister Crowley, he is a dark individual, guys. Just like go and Google that name, Aleister Crowley. He's British. You know, he was really dark, guys. He's a dark guy. So, you know, there is lots of question marks over that, and lots of things that, you know, maybe we should go into on another day. Jack Parsons, yeah, Jack Parsons was the other guy who started. Jack Parsons was the other guy who started Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to close this down now. The crux of this live stream was I was explaining about the Eastern Sentry on the eastern flank, NATO preparing to take on Russia, trying to deal with the increasing threat of industrialized drone strikes. We were talking about fear and confusion that's spreading through the West, and we also gave a little bit of a deep dive into the rifle that was used in the alleged rifle that was used in the Charlie Kirk shooting. Again, I've got question marks over that. I don't know if those questions are going to get answered. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down. I'll be back on tomorrow morning at 10, and I will be on in the afternoon as well. We'll be talking about what's happening in London. Anyway, guys, I will see you in the morning.